Hello and welcome to today's video. Being a professional cyclist may look like an easy task for some, especially those that have easy access to smooth concrete roads and sunny weather. But the same isn't the case for Uganda's first female pro cyclist, Florence Nakaggwa, who is headed for the Tour de France. In this video, we will be talking about Nakaggwa's journey and take a look back at the top 10 stages that shook the Tour de France. So let's jump right into it. First, who is Florence Nakaggwa? Hailing from the outskirts of Masaka, a town which is situated 80 miles southwest of Kampala, the Ugandan capital, is Nakaggwa. At just 21 years of age, she has achieved what many people before her couldn't. She is a pro cyclist who has trained on the muddy pathways of Masaka, cycling almost 30 to 60 miles each day, making anywhere between 50 to 100 kilometers. These pathways switch from the red soil of the village roads to the tarmac. Nakaggwa became Uganda's first female cyclist to have received a professional cycling contract earlier this year, and it was signed with Team Amani, which is a racing collective currently pushing for the inclusion of riders belonging from East Africa. Next up, how did her career start? It all started back in 2015, when a social worker and cycling fan from Masaka, known as Miiro Michael, first started noticing an increasing number of young boys on bicycles racing one another. Seeing this as an opportunity to bring the youth together, Michael formed the cycling club, which at present has about 10 girls and 15 boys. Michael himself was a wheelchair user who had the misfortune of contracting the polio virus at age 2. Even though he was handicapped, Michael loved watching the Tour de France on television as a child, but one thing that always bothered him was that none of the participants were of Ugandan origins. Uganda's luck changed when Michael met with Ross Barrage, who was an ultra-endurance racer from Australia. At the time, Barrage was training around Masaka, and upon finding out about the cycling club, he became an ambassador for it and started to raise funds and equipment for these young children and their passion for cycling. Barrage was the first one who stumbled on Florence Nakaggwa while he was out riding the bicycle with her brothers. In his words, he describes the first meeting. When I asked why she wasn't riding, I got nothing but a blank look. The next time I came back, she was racing her brothers. Soon after, in 2019, Nakaggwa started to race competitively and joined the bicycle club as the first woman. She even became captain after a while, after which she began to take the other women on training. Next up, her cycling journey till now. After coming first in the local community races, Nakaggwa's next big challenge was the Kintu Trial in western Uganda held last year. This was a very tough 500-kilometer mountain biking that spread over 5 days. In it, she competed with European and African men as well as women. On the first day, Nakaggwa came first and left everyone in utter amazement. Then came her next big challenge, which was the Rhino Run held in September 2022. This was an endurance expedition that began in the south of Africa and crossed over 1,700 miles, consisting of mountain ranges, towering sand dunes, and forests. The completion of this race was also one of her first accomplishments. She is now looking to reach the level of the Tour de France, which is known in the cycling world as the best place for a pro cyclist to be, and we wish her the best of luck. Now, what is the Tour de France? The Tour de France is an annual men's multiple-stage bicycle race held in France and passes through nearby countries as well. It has 21 total stages, each of which is a day long, and the entire event goes on for about 23 days. Some of the biggest names in the history of bicycling are present here, from Hinault and Lemond to Merckx. Next up, the 10 stages that shook the Tour de France. At number 1, we have 1975 Stage 15 from Nice to Pra Loup. Since 1969, Merckx had been unbeatable at the Tour. However, this stage changed everything. He had successfully built a lead of 2:20 into the Pyrenees, but his closest rival, Bernard Thévenet, gained on him and left him behind after Merckx seems to have cracked to pick up the pieces. Merckx was 5th that day, and the next day, he couldn't follow once again. That marked the end of the Merckx era. At number 2 comes 1984 Stage 17, from Grenoble to Alpe d'Huez. The second half of the stage looked somewhat like a toe-to-toe heavyweight fight between Laurent Fignon, the defending champion, and Bernard Hinault, the 4-time winner. By the time the race reached the Alps, Fignon had a 2-minute lead over Hinault. Caught in the countering blows to one another, Hinault accidentally ran right into a scouring headwind in the valley road to the Alpe, counterattacking himself and paving the road to the finish for Fignon. At number 3, we have the 1986 Stage 13 race from Paul to Superbagnères. During the race, Hinault had promised his teammate Greg LeMond that he would let him win the yellow jersey, but during the race, he seemed to have lost sight of the mission. Wanting the medal for himself, Hinault attacked his teammate on the descent of the Col de Tourmalet, gaining minutes, but his luck ran out when he got caught on the Luchon, and LeMond went ahead to take back all the deficit, leaving Hinault to deal with the knockout he had delivered to himself. Next, on number 4, we have the 1987 Stage 19 race from Valréas to Villard-de-Lans. Jean-François Bernard had been riding on a blinder, gaining almost 4 minutes on the other riders. His domination of the Mont Ventoux time trial transformed him into a hero in France. He was compared with the late Hinault Hinault Bernard, but didn't quite live up to the name. Owing to bad luck or just pushing too hard, Bernard got a puncture the next day and all his dreams were over. Quite entertaining for a viewer if you ask us. Then at number 5, we have the 1989 Stage 18 race from Bourg-d'Oisans to Villard-de-Lans. This race treated us to a fierce battle between Lemond and Hinault. The two traded blows over the course of the race. One of them broke away from the pack in every round, and whenever one broke away, it seemed the other wasn't even close to his counterpart. But then, the next round came and the roles were switched. Towards the end, Hinault attacked ferociously to extend his lead just enough to hold Lemond off. He led by a whopping 50 seconds after Stage 18. Next up, some more on the shocking stages. Next, we have number 6, Stage 13 of Villard-de-Lans, St-Etienne 1990. This was a tactical masterclass. Merckx and Chiappucci were involved in a seesaw of a race. Merckx's leader Lemond was initially given a lead, but they lost it in the Alpine stages and an uphill time trial. Being 7:27 behind and not being done with the stages where they were considered strongest, Merckx was in need of a miracle. Zeal created their own luck in the Massif Central by sending Merckx on the attack early on, forcing the Carrera team to push with him. By the time they caught him, they were finished. Lemond simply rolled up from behind to take 5 minutes. Number 7 is Stage 13 of Jaca in Val Louron, 1991. This race molded the tactics that are used these days. Lemond was the favorite to take the tour with ease, and his ferocious start cemented those claims. But then came Stage 13 where Embrun and Chiappucci broke away from the pack and struck a huge blow to Lemond's hopes of winning a third straight tour. At number 8 is Stage 15 of Les Deux Alpes, 1998. The events of this race made the fans question if it was actually real. Ulrich was the defending champion and had a 3-minute lead going into the hardest stage of the race. With attention diverted to events taking place off the track, Marco Pantani surprised fans by completely demolishing Ulrich and potentially winning the tour. He did so well, people started questioning the structure of the race and saying it was unfair. Number 9 is Stage 17 of the Alpe d'Huez 2008. This tour showed us the opposite of teamwork. It is said that cycling is a team sport, but Sastre showed how much teamwork matters to cyclists when it comes to individual interests. He stole the tour from his teammate Schleck in the final round, and there was nothing Schleck could do but follow and see his win be taken away. Finally, number 10, 2011 Stage 19 of the Alpe d'Huez. This one was tame for the most part, but it all opened up toward the final stages. By the end, it was a three-way battle between Contador, Sanchez, and Roland. The main protagonists for the overall tour were left behind, but the three in front made the race one of the most entertaining. That's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed the top 10 stages that shook the Tour de France, and we hope Nakaggwa makes it to the race and amazes the world by riding further with her young talents. Make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you all next time.